Here's week 2 of our Spin It to Win It series. Well, hey there, thank you very much for another session of Spin It to Win It! I'm your host, Gary, the Game Show Guru. I like to consider myself as the host with the most, if you know what I mean. I'm so excited that our live studio audience is here to participate with us today. If you weren't here last week, or maybe if this was your first week here, just to bring you up to speed, we are in a game show series where every week we have the opportunity to compete, to win prizes, to spin that wheel. Not only do we get to play games, I sometimes compete, and then you sometimes compete. And as long as we keep winning, then we get an opportunity for prizes at the end, not just for one, not just for two, but for everybody that's in our audience. So we are super excited about today's game show. As you might see, it's a little bit Christmas themed right now because Christmas is a-coming. And that brings us to a word from our sponsor. Who knows what a sponsor is? Yes, a sponsor is someone that helps us stay on the air. You know what? This is a public service announcement telling us to be smart and wise. So often, one person is smart, but they are often not wise. There is a difference. You know what? A great example of that comes from our board game sponsor. Are you smarter than a grandma? And it reminds me, you know what? I have a grandma. Several of you probably have grandmas as well. And my grandma is super, super smart. In fact, she just got the latest phone. And she knows all the shortcuts, knows how to get all the free apps. She knows all the things to be on social media. And my grandma is 98 years old. She's super smart though. She's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Tinder and all sorts of crazy, crazy apps. You know what? She's even programmed her phone to be able to control stoplights. As we're driving through town, she can make all the stoplights go from red to green, so she never has to stop. Not only that, but when grandkids come over, you know what? She is able to control with her phone the loudness of all the toys that they bring. So she can actually mute all the toys. She is super, super smart. But you know what happened? She made a not-so-wise decision because she always keeps her cell phone in her moo-moo pocket. And one day, she decided to wash all of her moo-moos. And guess what was in the pocket? Her cell phone! And let me tell you, washing machines and cell phones don't get along at all. So, the cell phone got destroyed. Now, Grandma was pretty smart, but she made an unwise decision to put that cell phone in the washing machine. Have you guys ever made an unwise decision? Like, some of us can ace our math test. But what do you think we should do if we're going to pet a wild tiger? Don't do it. That would be unwise, right? So this was a segment from our sponsors to be smart and wise. That brings us to our first game. This game is a game that you will be competing with me. And it's going to be a great game where actually you are going to read clues. I need 3 people to help me read the clues that I have to then guess what the answer is. I would suggest power-up host for the first session with kindergarten and first grade. You might either A, make sure they can read, or B, have your computer person potentially come up and help read the question, or you can give them the questions in the back and they can yell it up at you. But it's I would try to choose someone that can read. So, all right, what's going to happen is here are 3 clues, and I'm going to guess the answer, and I have to guess the answer before the entire image pops up on the screen, before the whole picture shows up. So, every time I guess an answer, another picture will appear. And I got to go through these super fast, right? When I ask if my guess is not the answer at the bottom of your paper, you have to say no. If it is, you say yes. All right? Let's go. Here is the first question. I am a father, and the kid says, I am a father of an important person. Ooh, could that be Darth Vader? No. Oh, no! Okay, what's the next question? And the next question is, one time I accidentally left my son at church when our family went on a trip. Ooh. Oh, I know this one. Is it Finding Nemo's father? And then the kid says, no. Oh my goodness, the last clue. I gotta get it on this one. Here we go. When we found my son, he was at church teaching other leaders about God. I remember this story. It happened to Jesus. That means father of an important person. They left their kid when they went on trip. You know what this is? I bet the person is Joseph.
Oh, hey there. I'm Joseph, and I'm the father of a very important person, Jesus. You know, being Jesus' dad puts a lot of pressure on a man. I mean, he's going to grow up one day and be the savior of the world. You know, there was this one time I took the family on a vacation to Jerusalem for a week-long celebration. It took us 3 whole days just to get there. If you think 3 days in a car is bad, try 3 days in the desert glued to a donkey. Well, when we got to Jerusalem, there were crowds of people there to celebrate. The city was packed out. People were singing and praying and eating. I mean, it was a party. And after the celebration was over, it was time to load up the donkey and hit the road. The traffic was awful, since everyone was leaving at the same time. Well, after my wife Mary and I walked for hours and hours, we realized that there was no Jesus on the back of the donkey. Can you believe it? I, Joseph, the father of Jesus, lost my own son. Well, we hurried back to Jerusalem and looked for Jesus. It took us 3 days to find him, but we finally did. And you know where we found him? In the church, chatting it up with the church leaders. And Jesus wasn't afraid or sad. He was there to talk about God, and he knew God was taking care of him the whole time. I was one grateful dad to find that my son Jesus was safe, but I was even more grateful to see how wise he'd become. As Jesus grew, God made him wise.
Wow, thanks, Joseph. So, God is the one that makes us wise. See, we can be really smart, but God is actually the one that can make us really wise, too. See, as Jesus continued to grow, God kept making him wiser and wiser. He made him wise enough to even teach the adults at church. And that brings us to this next statement of our need to know. And it's this. As I grow, God makes me wise. As I grow, God makes me wise. How can we let God make us wise in our life as we grow up? This is where you might have to feed them some answers like reading your Bible. Or what about praying to God? That helps you grow wise. Or coming to church. Or worship. Like all those things are how God helps make us wise. Really point to just spending time with God. Alright? Wow, those are all great answers, kids. So, that brings us to the next segment, which is our memory verse. It's this. In all these things, we will do even more than win. We owe it all to Christ, who has loved us. Romans 8:37. All right, let's just all stand up and yell it at the top of our lungs. In all these things, we will do even more than win. We owe it all to Christ, who has loved us. Romans 8:37. That was fantastic. Well, you know what? I'm so proud of you. And that was a sweet job. Speaking of sweet, that brings us to our next round of games. I'm going to need 2 contestants who aren't afraid of getting messy. Now come on up here, you and you. Great, great, great. You know what? This time of year is all about those yummy desserts. And what better way of celebrating with Christmas around the corner than eating some delicious pie? That brings us to our game today of Wise Pie Surprise. Let's pay attention to the video for our instructions.
Wise Pie Surprise. The most popular pie in the US is the classic apple pie. Today you will enjoy a special pie of your own. Get ready for a Wise Pie Surprise. Each contestant will choose 1 candy card and without using their hands must find the candy buried inside the pie. There are many types of candy in each pie, but the only way to win the game is to find the one that is pictured on your candy card. The first contestant to find their candy is the winner.
Alright kids, so this game, by the way, Power Up Host is going to be messy, so we'll have trash bags down, we'll also have ponchos for them, we'll have goggles for them, and so we'll have 3 different cards, basically gummies and gummy worms, and like Swedish fish with Cool Whip. So you're going to need to make all those pies pretty consistently with for each session. So make sure you have them out, just 2 per round, and then they do it. It's fun, it's whatever, super messy. We'll have paper towels that they can wipe off, and then both of them are going to get an opportunity to jump on to spin that wheel. Now, this last week we made some changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we have these bean bags, and they'll be at the other end. And we simply say, hey, when the wheel starts spinning, jump on the beanbag, which has our sensor underneath that says when the wheel will stop. And so they jump, and the wheel stops, and it's going to end up this time on Sour Punch straws. So that's what they'll get when they leave today. All right. And so that's kind of basically it. After they do the game, you're basically saying, oh man, that's awesome! Alright kids, you both did an amazing job, and so I'm going to have both of you jump on our sensors for a chance to spin that wheel. They go through that, and then you're like, oh man, we all win Sour Punch straws as we leave today. That's fantastic! Well guys, so glad that you're here. Can't wait to see you at our next round for Spin It to Win It! And that's basically it.